Hi everyone, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot with Cindy. Okay, so it is the 17th of March. I wanted to take a quick look at a couple of things. Giuliani, I want to take a look at Brett Kavanaugh, and I want to take a look at the Justice Department, just sort of overall now that Merrick Garland is finally installed. So, for those of you wondering, we are nearing the tail end of being ready to release the conditions, and that will put the sale going forward in terms of what I'm purchasing. So, it's all good. So, by the 31st of this month, we should be moved and sort of settled, and all the deals will be closed. So, hang in there. Readings are going to be a bit sporadic for a few more weeks. But for those of you wondering, Jerry. Yes, Rockstar Jerry has graciously invited me to come hang out at his home if I want to do a couple of videos. So that may very, very well happen. I'll be able to see Jerry because as things go on, right? Everything gets more and more disorganized and distracted around here. All right. Let's take a look at Giuliani. So that report came out from, I guess, I don't even know what department, the Justice Department, I guess, talking about exactly how much interference there was from Russia with regards to not only the 2016 election, but then the 2020 election, and kind of the role that Giuliani played. And I want to take a look at how that's going to impact him and affect him, because I think he's in big trouble. Just look at this. I was just cutting the deck because I was going to shuffle it, and you've got the Eight of Wands coming up, talking about rapid telecommunications, rapid developments, that kind of thing, and the Tower. So I don't know. Maybe I don't even need to do any more of a reading. Come on down. I have a question. All righty, here we go. Rudy Giuliani current, Rudy Giuliani current, Rudy Giuliani current. Okay. So, he's definitely going to be some kind of disappointed going forward. He's leaving a situation. He's being maybe forced or encouraged to leave a situation. First thing that comes to my mind here is the Bar Association. Is it possible that the New York Bar Association is going to say, okay, enough is enough, we are stripping you? I would not be at all surprised if that happens. As more and more people sort of digest what that report said, and the roles he and other sort of officials were playing in disseminating all of that information to prop up Trump and hurt Biden. There's just going to be, there's an energy now about, we're so done with this, Just get the people who weren't behaving in the best interest of, the country, I suppose, get them gone, because we can't take any more of this sort of crazy all the time. Speaking of which, let me just digress for 1 second. So I did a video that got released last week called Trump Family Update. And every time I release a Trump video, I get a couple of comments, and it's terrific, saying, can we not just please move on from Trump? I'm really tired of hearing about him. And the short answer is no, we can't. I try not to read about them too often, every couple of weeks. But you know what? You cannot just shut the door on this and say, we're just going to move past it. You can't move past it because there's too much healing to be done. There's too much information that still needs to come out. And frankly, there really is a sense of at some point we would like to see at least him get some of what's due to him. Now, whether we do or not, it's another matter. But so I will continue to do, spot checks on them as they make the news, as things are going on. I will continue to read on them. And it's interesting because the other side of the equation is that the Trump videos almost invariably are the most watched videos. So there's the answer to that. Come on back down. Okay, so what we're dealing here with is you've got this guy having to leave, having to defend himself, being put in a position where his secrets are going to be revealed, and he's not going to like it very much. He's not, whatever he may have been, okay, whatever he may have been in the past, whether he was America's lawyer or, cleaned up corruption, whatever all he did. The reality is he's not that man anymore. He's not in that place anymore. He's now scrambling. He's desperate. Everything he did literally was about the money, okay? It was about his happiness. It was about him getting the funds, him being in the right circles, him being talked about, him having this, I don't know, like he really actually thought that this was going to enhance his legacy. I'm not quite sure how he got that figured out, but he did. But so, of course, what happened was he made a deal with the devil, right? Here's Trump. So he made a deal with him, and ultimately, this is going to blow up in his face. And the investigations are moving forward. Sometimes we don't hear about them. Maybe they're a little quieter or behind the scenes. Trust me, he is being investigated, and what is coming out is not looking good for him. He really is going to end up, I think, over the long haul with the label of, hi, Twyla. Say hi. There you go. Say hi. No, get down. With the label of traitor. With that label of he really didn't care about anything as far as the security, the safety of the country. It was all about him. So he's definitely going down a rather difficult road. The government's coming after him, just make no mistake about it. Justice is coming after him. And there are times where literally he really wishes he could turn back the clock. But, he couldn't because he was behaving as a mercenary. He was prepared to carry water. He was prepared to do whatever it took to stay in that inner circle of Trump, never realizing that Trump was no longer going to be the center of gravity, right? There is definitely legal trouble coming for him. There is definitely financial trouble coming for him. And Trump is not going to do one little thing to save him, protect him, or defend him. What a big surprise, right? What a big surprise. The reign of him, his sort of reign is coming to an end. We're going to hear less and less and less about him until the investigations come together, and whether there's indictments or whatever it is, you're going to see a ramping up. But for right now, it feels like things are sort of quiet a little bit behind the scenes, not for long. But he's not in a good place. I want to tell you that, he's calling in favors. He's doing everything he can to keep himself afloat. But, it doesn't, it's not working for him. He owes too much to too many people in too many different ways. And he is going to find that this stuff all sort of starts backing up on him, coming home to roost kind of energy. I would suspect that he is, if he drinking too much, there is, when I step into his energy, it's scared, it's fearful, and it's overlaid with sort of this sheen of bravado. And so what you hear or see in public is absolutely not real. It's not what's actually going on in privacy. He's stressed, he's anxious, he can't figure out a way out. And, he realizes that there really isn't going to be anything that swoops in and saves him. Okay. So that is going to be interesting to allow it to continue to unfold. It's looking like he's really having some sort of health issues. Perhaps maybe it's just stress, anxiety, worry. I don't know, but it feels very much like he is really, really not in great shape, just physically, just in terms of, just his sort of day to day, it feels very, very low energy. It feels a little bit scattered. He has thoughts that race around and around and around in his head. He can't shut them down. Frankly, he's not in a good place, but that's ultimately what happens, right? I mean, you sell your soul. Eventually, there is a price to be paid for that, and it certainly looks like that is the price he is going to be paying sooner rather than later. All right, let's take a look at Brent Kavanaugh. So Sheldon Whitehouse wrote Merrick Garland a very long letter, sort of saying, wow, congratulations and best regards. And oh, by the way, here's a list of things I want you to investigate. And one of the things that he wants investigated is the investigation into the allegations against Brent Kavanaugh. So, let's take a look at Kavanaugh and see if he finally has to face the music, or if he is somehow going to be continue to be sort of in this bubble of protection. Of course, the thing is the people that created the bubble are not so much there anymore. And, they kind of have rules about lying and that kind of stuff when you're in a confirmation hearings. So I just feel that, he could be on some thin ice himself. Let's take a look, shall we? Tell me about Brent Kavanaugh. Tell me about Brent Kavanaugh. Tell me about Brent Kavanaugh. And for all of you who corrected me about DeSantis and the term, thank you for the correction. Appreciate that. I'm not American, one more time. Okay, so Brent Kavanaugh. Okay, so he he is aware because of the information that came out that Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has sent this letter to Merrick Garland requesting a bit of a deep dive investigation. He is aware of the fact that that he has gone from sort of stable footing to feeling like there is just like a thin sheet of ice under his feet. And for any of you who know what that is, where you're sitting on a solid surface, and then in the early mornings or whatever, after a rain that temperatures are too cold, and you just get that sheet of ice, and it's like you're on solid ground, and then all of a sudden, boom, right? That's kind of the energy that's going around him. He is some kind of worried, and he is some kind of stressed, because let me tell you, he knows exactly everything he lied about and everything he wrote off, and that attitude and that belligerence, that is ultimately going to cause him some trouble. And you know what, it feels very much like there are some people, there were people who said, we're trying to get this information to the FBI, nobody will take our call, they don't want to listen to us, whatever. Those people are very, very likely to start moving forward again and approaching the FBI, contacting whatever it is, but their voices are going to be heard. And ultimately, it is going to create a real significant change in fortune for him pertaining to justice, pertaining to his seat on the court, pertaining to how he is perceived. He's going to have, you know, a couple of, I don't know, events to take place that sort of almost kind of like you got the Knight of Wands and the King of Swords here, or the Knight of Swords. So it's a feeling like he's going to have some stuff going for him in his favor, but ultimately I don't feel like his tricks are going to serve him all that well. And I would not be surprised if there was not almost like I think if it comes right down to it, he may very well choose to leave. But he's got a really big decision ahead of him, right? Do I stay and fight and risk everything else getting unearthed? Or do I pick up my wounded pride and, shuffle off into obscurity? It's not something he's going to want to do, let me tell you. He wants what he has right now, and he's not going to be all that anxious to let go of it. However, he really may not have a lot of options when it comes to that. Yeah, lots more information is coming out, and as it comes out, it sort of paints a picture that is not in his favor. It is not in his best interest that those kind of behaviors be exposed. And so this is the other thing to be aware of. There is going to need to be, or there's going to be energy around trying to create an environment where there is a little bit more balance when it comes to these kinds of escapades. So what am I talking about here? I am not suggesting for 1 second that what happened to Ford was acceptable in any way, shape, or means. But what you're going to hear, you're going to start hearing this sort of rhetoric about, come on, it was 25 years ago, the kid was in university, whatever, right? At what point do we sort of let bygones be bygones? At what point do we say, well, this is just what was acceptable at the time? Don't freak out on me and send me a bunch of comments saying it was never acceptable. I'm telling you it was never acceptable. I know that. I'm saying be aware of the fact that this may be some of the rhetoric you are going to hear. And in part, it sort of fits in very closely. I'm going to try not to digress here, but with Como, right? It's like, are the things that he is being accused of, are they truly like sort of sexual assaults, or is it behavior that was sort of more acceptable when he was younger, when he was in his 20s, in his early 30s? That kind of interaction or contact. Again, was it appropriate? Probably not. But if it was considered normal at the time, why as you look back on it, is it being treated like this high crimes event? So you're going to start to hear, I think, more conversation about trying to balance that kind of energy, trying to really differentiate between a sexual assault versus really inappropriate. I am neither judge nor jury on this. I am blessed, frankly, to have never had any significant experiences when it comes to sexual assault. And so in a lot of ways, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I can tell you energetically, you're going to start hearing this back and forth thing about No, it's never acceptable, but at what point does it cross the line? What actually constitutes crossing the line? So expect some of that to happen, and that may, in fact, be part of where Kavanaugh gets this sort of wind at his wings, you know what I mean? And he's able to look like he may just be able to move forward from this. I don't think he's going to be able to. I would not be surprised if somewhere down the line we don't see Kavanaugh leaving the bench, whether he does that of his own volition or he's just sort of removed, although that won't, I mean, if it comes down to that, he'll leave of his own volition. Nobody needs an even bigger scar on their name. And let's not forget, when it comes to the Supreme Court, that you also have people who are going to be also leaving, announcing their retirement. And so, you know, the court is going to change and shift, but make no mistake, damage has been done, right? Damage has been done, and you have all of this stuff going on individually with the states in terms of suppressing, you know, voting, that kind of thing. There's going to be a lot in the news in the next while about the law, about legalities, about court cases, and whether that is, you know, Trump is indicted to Kavanaugh is investigated, to people being charged. There's just going to be a lot of sort of legal type news and information coming out in the next little while. So that could prove to be very, very interesting. Quick, I want to take a look at Merrick Garland and see how he is doing. Attorney General Merrick Garland, Attorney General Merrick Garland, Attorney General Merrick Garland. And how refreshing is that to say? Okay. So he has stepped into an absolute mess, There is so much stuff that went on behind the scenes that actually a lot of it is going to start coming out. So that too pertains to what I just finished saying about the law, justice, a lot of information and news coming out from that sort of arena. He really has inherited more of a mess than I think people realize. However, the good news appears to be that there are enough career people at Justice who are just so relieved that the entire department is no longer literally being corrupted, that he's going to end up with a lot of support going forward. People are going to be anxious to help him set a new tone, create a new environment, that kind of thing. And there are things that are going to be on his plate, and he is going to be reviewing things. He is going to be assigning things. One of the other things that that Senator Whitehouse asked him to investigate is this sort of, you know, no sitting president can be indicted kind of thing. That's kind of a rule, but it's not really, and right. He wants that investigated. Because if there's one thing that the last 4 years have shown anybody, is that sometimes some of those rules just don't end up creating a situation where justice is actually served, certainly in the short term. But he is going to have a significant amount of support and help. People are very, very anxious to try to return the Justice Department to something that has respect. You know, they want to take it back in time. They want to take it back to a previous way I think that justice was viewed. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be flawless, but it has been so denigrated that there really is this move to try to push past it. As a result, you are going to see judgments being passed to eradicate some of the worst, whether that is insurrectionist behavior, whether that is flat treasonous traitor behavior, whether that is Trump's family, whether that is members of Congress. But there is definitely going to be this sort of quiet, systematic movement forward to clean house and to pass judgment where judgment needs to be passed. But look, temperance sits on top of it. So it is not going to be a situation where the pendulum swings really, really bad in one direction, which is what it did under Trump. And now it's going to swing all the other way to the other way. It's not that. This is more about finding center, finding temperance, not reacting as if somebody doesn't agree with you, they are the enemy and to be destroyed by any means possible. So the reality is, as far as he is concerned, he's got a lot on his plate. Things are in worse shape than we realize, we the public, but he has the support and the help to clean things up and really start moving things forward. Overall, he, I think, is going to be viewed as, as somebody who has emotional balance, who has integrity, who is able to continue to move things forward so that they don't get stalled and they don't get buried under sort of minutia. They are like, it's clear and it's crisp, and there's a way to move forward, and that's what he's going to be doing, and that's what the department under him is going to be doing. He is going to come to be really viewed as sort of like a hero, okay, like the star, like somebody who swept in and like really, really started enforcing some changes and corrections and cleaning things up. And he is going to remain an incredibly, incredibly neutral party. He is going to take nonpartisan to almost to all new levels, okay? And that is what Biden wants. That is what the administration wants. And frankly, that is the only way that Attorney General Garland would and could function. So he's got a lot of accolades coming to him. He has a lot of support coming to him. But make no mistake, he is on a mission to get that Justice Department literally to rise like a phoenix out of the ashes, right? He is going to do everything in his power and energy, not only clean it up, but to recreate an image that is just, frankly, more in keeping with the way things should be versus the way they have been for the last 4 years. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Things are crazy, crazy. And God Almighty, I so appreciate your comments and your good wishes and your thoughts and your prayers. This move is proving to be a little bit more challenging than I had hoped. Everything is going to work out, I know that, but there are definitely some hurdles that have had to be dealt with, including a burst water main on a street. So I'm going to get there. I'm going to survive it. We'll all be happy and reunited sort of at the beginning of April, and we're just going to be able to move forward. Until then, take care, be well, and we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.